How's everyone doing today? I hope amazing. Really, I do. I'll say it. I hope amazing. For those of you who are new here, hello, my name is Cheyenne, and I've been doing true crime videos on this channel for a little bit now. Not consistently, but yeah. Maybe some of you are actually surprised to see me back here, like I said I would be. You know what? I understand it. I get it. I haven't been reliable in the past, but we're starting a new leaf, okay? I just want to say thank you to everyone who provided feedback in my last video. So we're on this learning journey together. Thank you. Thank you for being here. Also, I'm wearing my glasses today, so hopefully the glare doesn't bother anybody, but I just really didn't want to shove contacts in my eyes today. So without further ado, I'm just going to jump right into it. Warning, this is in fact a true crime channel. So the stuff we're going to be talking about is true crime related. There's a lot of murder in this. It's probably triggering for some. If you find that murder is triggering for you, I would recommend maybe just moseying on somewhere else, because this really isn't going to be the video for you. Okay? Thank you. Let's get this party started. Okay, so our story is going to be happening in the lovely country of Canada. It's where I live, so we love Canada on this channel. And we're going all the way back to 2007 when a man named Brett Ryan was 26 years old. He was living with his family in their home and they were living in Scarborough, Ontario. During this time, he found himself about $60,000 in debt. Friends and family said that Brett was always smiling and polite when he was younger. He volunteered at Sick Kids and Little League and was described as just a very good-looking, generous guy. After high school, he had enrolled in the University of Toronto, but the whole university experience was just too overwhelming for him, so he ended up dropping out. After he dropped out, he got a job as a painter, so he just did that for a few years. Yeah, he just fucking moseyed around painting, you know? During his time as a painter, though, is when he started to kind of feel desperation. He was in a lot of debt compared to his friends who were off doing grown-up, professional jobs and going to university. I feel like Brett was maybe starting to feel like a failure, especially if he was comparing himself to his friends and what they were doing at the time. So rather than concede failure and file for bankruptcy, Brett decided that instead he was going to rob some banks. Because naturally, that is what we do. That is the obvious next step in things. If you don't have money, just go rob a bank, okay? And I mean, he had a whole plan. He had wrapped himself in a tensor bandage, was holding paper, walked into the CIBC that was literally 8 minutes away from his house. He at least kind of thought this out. He kind of had a plan of action. So the first bank he robbed, unfortunately, he didn't even get $2,000 for it. So I don't really know if it was worth it. And so after that first bank robbery, Brett was fucking hooked, okay? Over the next 8 months, he robbed 12 different banks. He went hard, okay? Still though, all those banks, and he only got a total of $28,000, which I feel really isn't that much if you're robbing 12 banks. It's a bank. I feel they should have more money, but... And luckily for Brett, he had never been arrested before, so his prints weren't in the system. So he wasn't getting caught at first, there was really no way. They had no way to identify who the guy was. And he was given the name the Bearded Bandit because he had this nice beard that he glued onto his face as his disguise. Yeah, he was doing it, He was doing it. Unfortunately, though, police did end up spotting Brett's vehicle after one of the heists on camera, so they did find out who he was. And he was caught because he was actually heading into another bank to go rob it. So he walks into this bank, and he must just felt like something was off, his guts just knew, because he turned around to leave. He didn't even try to rob the bank, and police were there, waiting outside, and they arrested him, so... Yeah, he awaited trial for that one. So, in January of 2009, Brett had to stand trial for all of his bank robberies. And thankfully for him, he had some good privilege behind him, because Justice Paul Robertson, who was the justice for this case, cited Brett's stellar background in his sentencing report, and then said this is what he said. He's a person who has integrity, who has given himself to his community, who has given himself to others, and who is truly a productive member of society. That's what the judge said, so yeah. And then Robertson, the judge here, says to Brett, "You are not a youth, but you, in my view, are youthful." Whatever the fuck that means. But Brett was described as being this cute little goofy guy with blonde hair, dimples. So you know what? Good on him, I guess. Good on him. So for all the bank robberies, Brett was sentenced to 5 years, but that was with time served. And he got early parole, so it's pretty sick. So he was back living at home in late 2010. What is that, like maybe a year? Maybe a little over a year he actually served in jail. So that's not bad for robbing 12 banks, honestly. It's a pretty good sentence. That's a pretty good deal. Unfortunately, though, once he was out of jail, Brett did have to start addressing his bankruptcy. He also couldn't hide his past from any prospective employers. As soon as they Googled his name, everything came up. His past crimes came up. So he was having a really hard time finding jobs. And as he was approaching 30, I think he was really starting to feel desperate with where his life was so far. But you know, Brett wasn't gonna let it keep him down, so he found a job. It was just like this retail job, and he applied again for university. He was also seeing a psychologist and working on being more open with his family and being a more honest person. So he was trying to improve his life at this point, and at least he was making some positive steps towards change, which is awesome. And then in September of 2011, one of Brett's friends set him up with a girl for a blind date. You know, he's going on a blind date. And her name was Kristen Baxter. And she was just like this beautiful blonde physiotherapist. And so they went on this date and they really hit it off. You know, Kristen had the life that Brett had always wanted for himself. And yeah, she just seemed like a really good match for Brett, so. And Kristen did also know about Brett's criminal past, but it didn't bother her at all. So in 2013, they ended up moving in together. Brett moved into Kristen's condo with her. And then a year after Brett and Kristen moved in together, Brett's father ended up passing away. So Brett started doing just odd jobs around the house for his mom, and she would pay him cash so that he could make some extra money. During this time too, Brett also dropped out of university, but he didn't tell anybody in his life, so everyone thought that he was still going to university this whole time. This is really kind of the beginning of the unraveling for Brett and the decline that we're about to see. This is kind of the beginning stages of it, because the lies are already starting up again, which isn't a great sign. Yeah. And then in the spring of 2016, Brett actually caught a lucky break and he got a job with this tech firm. It was the first like high-paying grown-up job that he had actually gotten, so he was very excited about it. Unfortunately though, a few days after being hired, the tech firm found out about his criminal past and they ended up letting him go. Brett though, like university, didn't tell anybody in his life, so he just kind of kept up this facade of pretending to work and pretending to go to school, and he had this whole fake life that he had started to create. I'm assuming about his failures. I think from what it seemed at this point, he was starting to feel like a failure in his own eyes, so, and shame does not do good things for you, I tell ya. And Brett and Kristen were still planning their wedding at this point, and Brett wasn't making a lot of money. He was working for his mom, doing odd jobs, and then he had that like retail job that he was still working at, but he didn't really have a lot of income coming in. Kristen, of course, didn't know this because Brett was lying to her, so the wedding that they were planning seemed to be pretty expensive and extravagant. Like just the food was $100 for plated service per person. So that's a lot of money already, like just in the food at the wedding. And you know, they were also looking at moving out of the tiny condo, getting a bigger place. You know, they were gonna get married and start their lives and probably wanted to start having children. So that was kind of the next steps that were supposed to be happening. And Brett's family too, they were so proud of him. His mom was always bragging about him and about how successful her son was. Only because he was lying to her, but... And Brett was quickly running out of money. He was trying to like push his mom to like get more jobs for him to do around the house so that he could get more money. But she was really like maxed out at what he could do around the house. And his wedding was around the corner, and I think the lies were just really starting to pile up for Brett. And he got to a point where he just wanted to come clean and share everything and tell his mom everything. And that's also what a psychologist was recommending that he should be doing, is coming clean about all the lies. So Brett decided to tell his mom the truth about everything. Instead of his mom just like financially bailing him out and helping him out, which seems to be kind of what he was hoping for, his mom actually told him that if he didn't tell Kristen the truth and didn't tell her what was going on, that his mom was going to go forward and actually tell her. And for Brett, that would have been the worst thing that could have happened in his eyes. Kristen was this escape from the life that he was ashamed of and didn't really want to be a part of, and this life where he felt like a failure. You know, Kristen was the out. So he really didn't want that relationship to end, and he really wanted to keep it going And I think he knew that if Kristen found out about all the lies, she probably would have left him. Oh my god. So because of his previous sentencing, Brett did have some conditions, so he wasn't allowed to own any firearms. So he ended up going out and buying a crossbow, which you don't need a license for. And he started creating his plan. In the days after the ultimatum, Brett was still going to his mom's house and acting like everything was normal and doing jobs for her and just kind of faking it, really. And during one of the trips where he was hanging out with his mom, he actually ended up stashing the crossbow in his mom's garage. They had just done some kitchen renovations, and so he really wasn't worried that anyone was going to be able to find it, because there was just like a bunch of clutter in the garage anyways. So yeah, that's where he hid the crossbow. And then on August 25th of 2016, it was a hot day. Okay, it was a hot, sweltering day. Brett and Kristen get up in the morning, they get ready for work, they leave to start their day. Just like any other day, Kristen was going to her job as a physiotherapist, Brett was going to his fake job that he had created. So Kristen left the house at 7:30 a.m. and that's when Brett started his fun little plan that he had created. Okay, so he had literally really planned this out, okay? This was a premeditated attack because what he did in the morning, in order to have an alibi, is he opened up his laptop and propped it up against a wall with like 2 5-pound weights. Then he duct taped a spoon, okay, to like an oscillating fan, right? Spoon, duct taped to this fucking fan, and had it so that the spoon was lined up with the laptop's like enter key. He then plugged the fan into a digital timer so that when the timer went off, it would turn on the fan and then the fan would hit the enter bar and open up like a YouTube video and then make it look like he was at home watching YouTube, okay? Okay, that's what he was doing. It was a whole planned out thing. He then took, okay, 2 more fans, okay? He takes 2 more fans that are plugged into timers. You know, he screwed them into a wooden board. This is crazy. He screwed them into a wooden board, which he put like on his countertop in the kitchen island. Then he taped styluses to like the outside of these fans. And then screwed a smartphone and a tablet to another board so that they were like facing these fans, okay? So the fans and the phones are facing each other with the styluses sticking out. And so then when the fans went off with the timer, it would actually hit enter on a pre-typed up message. And these were like rigged to go off at different points in the day. So he had really set up his alibi for the whole day with these contraptions. It's crazy. What a crazy thing to come up with. You know, when it was a really hot day out, but Brett, he didn't care, okay? He threw on 2 pairs of pants. He packed up his gym bag with his whole disguise. And he'd even taken note of like where all the camera was in his condo and then went out the back entrance and like avoided all the cameras so that he couldn't even be seen leaving his condo. So this was very planned out, okay? He really thought about this one. And he moseyed on over to his mom's house. He got there around 10 a.m. His mom wasn't expecting him. She had actually canceled her plans for the day because she was feeling sick. Brett tried one last ditch effort to get his mom to kind of see his side and his perspective with things. But his mom, Sue, she held her ground. They ended up getting in a heated argument and were kind of walking through the house arguing. And during this argument, Sue called her eldest son, Chris, and also asked him to come over and just kind of help her deal with Brett because things were getting heated and obviously not going great. And Brett quickly realized that the situation was getting out of control. And so he headed out the back door and headed straight for the garage, and his mom ended up following him out there. And because they were so close together with walking distance, Brett didn't really get a good head start in crossbows. You can't just shoot them, you know, you have to fully like load them. So it takes a while and Brett didn't really have time for that. His mom was right there. So he got into the garage, grabbed a bolt for the crossbow, and when his mom walked in, he ended up stabbing her in the cheek and in the ear. And like I said, they just done renovation, so there's a bunch of stuff in the garage. So him and his mom got into like a tussle and he had taken her to the ground and some old flooring had fallen on top of her. And as she was fighting for her life, Brett grabbed some yellow nylon rope and ended up strangling his mother to death. So after strangling his mother, Brett made sure to load his crossbow properly because he knew that his brother was going to be on his way soon. As soon as Chris came into the garage, Brett was very close to him and he ended up shooting the crossbow, which went through the back of his neck and then out of his mouth. And Chris ended up dying instantly. So by this point, there was a big mess in the garage. There was a lot of blood. Brett ended up taking his mom and his brother's bodies and stacking them over in the corner in the garage and then throwing a tarp over their bodies. And then before he could do any other cleaning up, his younger brother AJ came home. So Brett exited the garage, and at this point I think was just everything was too far gone. And so he had a crossbow bolt, and he ended up walking outside, meeting his brother outside, and then stabbing him in the neck. AJ collapsed to the ground, and during this is when his other brother Leland woke up. He had been napping in his bedroom and heard the altercation that was happening outside, and when he saw that his younger brother was outside bleeding, he ran to go get the phone and call 911. And this is when Brett followed him into the house and ended up attacking him as well. And so Leland fought for his life. They were running around the house, fighting, toppling things over, hitting each other. You know, there was furniture that was getting broken. Leland had ended up sustaining a head injury and was bleeding quite bad as well during all this. And meanwhile, AJ was still outside and he was alive and was trying to crawl down the driveway to go get help. And he had made it to the front of the house when Leland also was able to escape the house and get away from Brett. And that's when he ran across the street and started yelling at the neighbors to call 911 and make sure that police were coming. Once 911 was called, I think Brett kind of just gave up. He knew that it was done for him. And he went and grabbed a bottle of water from his fridge and just kind of hung out until police came. AJ unfortunately did end up dying before first responders could save his life. And Brett is recorded as saying, "I should have driven him to the hospital. The guys in the garage are dead. Crossbow to the head. It was me." Shortly after, obviously, Brett was apprehended, and that's when police started their investigation. They went to the condo that Brett was living in, and that's when they found all of the devices that he had created to set up his alibi for the day. And Brett just immediately pleaded guilty to all of the charges against him, and he was convicted of second-degree murder in the death of his mother, first-degree murder for the death of his brother Chris, and second-degree murder for his brother AJ. After sentencing, Brett addressed the court. He was crying and seemed to be remorseful for everything that he had done. And even this judge saw Brett as kind of a victim. The judge really liked Brett. He said that he believed that Brett was truly remorseful for his actions and had just kind of gotten caught up in these lies and it had went out of control. So, you know, the judges were always on his side, so good on him, I guess. And Brett ended up receiving concurrent life sentences for all of his charges, plus another 10 years added on for the attempted murder of his other brother, Leland. He will be eligible for parole in 2041, and he'll be 60 years old at that point, so yes. And that's that. Okay, that felt like a lot. I felt like I was talking for forever. And that's the story of the crossbow killer, Brett Ryan, okay? It was a big, hefty story, it felt like. Felt like a lot. Hopefully you all enjoyed. Hopefully you liked this video. That's really all I have for you today, okay? That's all I got. So thank you for joining me. I hope you had a nice time. I sure did, okay? Thanks for hanging out. So you'll see me next week, I'm sure. Okay, thank you. Thank you to all my new subscribers. It's lovely to have you here. There's like 110 of us now, so how exciting. Okay. Oh my God, I'm so sorry, Luna. That's all I got for you. So I will see you all next week. I hope you have a wonderful day, a wonderful evening, a wonderful wherever the hell you are. And I will see you all later, okay? Okie doke. Bye-bye.